Another game week down and another red arrow, but we're going to look at some positives here. It was a very small red arrow, so I've stayed at 4.5 million. We're rounding. I'm happy with that. It didn't go up to 5 million. Unfortunately, it wasn't much of an improvement, but only a slight red arrow. And also, we were 1 point above average. So that's the level we're at on this channel now. We are celebrating beating the average score. Now, in defence, there is not too much to rage about apart from Pedro Porro, which we will come to. So after all of the drama about Raya, he ended up playing. I decided to stick with him on my wildcard. I was umming and ahhing about whether or not to risk it, but I figured it sounds like he's only going to be out for 1 or 2 game weeks. He's the goalkeeper that I really want to have. And where I bought him at 5.5 million, he's gone up to 5.6. I wouldn't actually be able to afford to bring him back. Plus, it's using up a transfer to bring him in. And I thought, I'll just settle. I'll just accept the fact that I might not get many goalkeeper points. But it turns out I didn't have to worry anyway. He ended up playing and only came away with 1 point. That was a recurring theme in this defence. So clearly one of the risks, high risk, high reward, going for double Arsenal defence. Gabriel didn't get any attacking returns, only came away with a 1-pointer. And another player only coming away with 1 point is Trent. The thing is with Trent, the last time he came away with 1 point, it was against Forest. And then the next game week, I think it was Bournemouth that he was playing, he came away with 11 points. He got an assist, got the clean sheet and 2 bonus points. So going to hold out on this one. And I still think Trent is one of my favourite assets in the team. Didn't transfer him out, hoping to keep him for the long term. And where I don't have any other Liverpool assets, it's nice to have him there in that spot. And then Pedro Porro, Spurs managed to keep a clean sheet, which I was not expecting whatsoever. I was watching the game. If you saw my vlog, I went out for a run. I was checking the scores periodically, and I was just waiting for Spurs to lose their clean sheet, but that did not happen. So I got 5 points from him. He did get a yellow card, which is a bit disappointing, but even so, pleased with that, didn't expect it. And then the midfield, we had more success, and this was a lot more exciting. So patience really paid off with Morgan Rogers, who scored against Ipswich. He has had a really quiet start to the season, but he returned in his last 2 fixtures. So again, it's one of those players similar to what I should have done with Palmer and just kept hold of him, just waiting, getting into their momentum, and then now we've had 2 returns in 2 weeks. I'm really excited for Villa's home fixture against Man United this weekend, especially seeing how they did against Spurs. Then Mbeumo, he eased my stress by scoring very early in the West Ham fixture. He's an asset that I've wanted for absolutely ages, and he's continued his streak of scoring in home fixtures. It bodes really well that they're playing at home this weekend against Wolves. And yeah, I'm just really, really happy that he is in my team. Saka's a funny one here because it was a really impressive game for him, and that is highlighted by the fact that he managed to pick up a bonus point. Controversial. And the fact that he did get into the bonus despite no attacking returns says it all. He's a very dangerous player that I would be worried about owning, specifically because he is guaranteed to start. Arteta never ever lets him have a day off. And he's also on penalties, but he's quite a high price point, and I'm a bit worried about where Arsenal's goals are coming from. They've got so much talent in their team. It's actually quite hard to pinpoint which attacker to go for. So for now, glad I've gone for Saka. He's at the higher price point, which was on purpose on my wildcard so that I can go down if I need to. This is what I didn't do with Haaland. I should have started with the premium assets, and then it's easier to transfer them out and downgrade, like in financial terms, for other players, whereas trying to find the money to bring Saka in would have been a bit more difficult. Saying that, I now obviously want to bring back Cole Palmer, and he's more expensive than Saka, so that's going to take a couple of game weeks, but we're not taking hits anymore. And then Semenyo, he lived up to the hype that I've built around him. Well, not just me, obviously he's a very popular FPL pick, but I wrote about him in the pre-season. He's just a player that I really wanted to bring in. He managed to score, and I'm hoping for a bit more against Leicester this week. Then up front, Ollie Watkins delivered 1 goal and 1 assist. Morgan Rogers, Ollie Watkins, lovely. He's also found his stride, and he's scored in the past 3 fixtures. So things are looking good. He's on that upwards trajectory, and hopefully he'll replicate how successful he was last season. Wood, unfortunately, he did score a goal which was registered as offside. I saw the highlight. I was out and I just checked Twitter and I saw Wood scored. I was so excited. I almost vlogged it. And then I realised it was offside, which is disappointing. But Forest unexpectedly lost against Fulham. It was a home fixture. I thought Fulham were going to be the weaker side. I'm really surprised that they did come away just 1-0. and I was expecting goals, not necessarily from Wood, but I don't know, that just doesn't seem right for Forest not to score at home. And then Haaland, finally made it into my team, priority on the wild card, first player in, and he blanks, the first blank of the season. My luck this season has just been ridiculous. There have definitely been skill issues. I should have started the season with Haaland. I hold my hands up to that one. I didn't expect him to be as explosive as he has been, but probably, like I said, I should have started the premium assets and then worked my way down. But for him to blank when I bring him in, if you watch Dreamception on Saturday, you'll know that I had a last minute panic about whether or not to captain Haaland. And I ended up captaining him because, I needed to. I transferred him in, there was a reason for it, and I needed to go for the captaincy. I thought I was playing it safe as well. But the reason I was a bit hesitant about it was the fixture was Newcastle away from home. And Newcastle, it's a game. I want to go to their stadium so badly. I can imagine the atmosphere is mad. I've seen the Newcastle fans away from home, and I wanted to be in that section because they're just so lively. And I thought, maybe there is a chance that Haaland will blank. But in my head now, Haaland blanking is Haaland just coming away with 1 goal. So I expected some sort of return. To get nothing, 2 points, but my backup captain was going to be Saka, so I wouldn't have been that much better off. If the backup had been a Cole Palmer, if I had him in my team, or Ollie Watkins, I would have been absolutely kicking myself, but I was talking about Saka the whole time, so can't be too annoyed about that. Glad Haaland's in the team. Very disappointing way to start with him in here. So now I will go through my team selection for the upcoming game week. We are taking a new approach on this channel now. We're playing it cool. We're just going to roll the transfer. No knee-jerk reactions, no chasing other players to bring them in. We're going to be calm. We've chosen the wild card. Let's let it play out for a couple of game weeks and then make some decisions. I'm also really keen to build up my transfers because that would have been really helpful before the wild card. I wild carded because I had so many injuries and issues within the team. If I'd have rolled a couple of transfers, I would have been in a much stronger position going into game week 7. But here we are. So we're going to stick with Raya in goal. Then we've got Trent, Porre, Gabriel. In the midfield, Rodgers and Mbumo, Saka, Semenyo. I think that's a strong midfield. I'm really happy with that. And Semenyo against Leicester, big things are coming. And then the front three, we've got Watkins, Wood and Haaland. Wood against Chelsea, on paper, should be a difficult fixture. But I think so far Forest are unbeaten against Chelsea. Or they've got a very, very good record against them. I'm questioning myself now, but I'm sure they have got a good record against Chelsea. The only thing that I think is Chelsea are on a very good run at the moment. They're probably feeling very confident. We've seen Chris Wood. It's the Chris Wood on my mind. We've seen Cole Palmer. He's absolutely explosive. And it's an away fixture for Forest. But defensively, they have been really solid this season. So we may see some surprises. And also, this is the kind of fixture that I can just imagine Chelsea not being too great defensively, and Chris Wood, he finds a way. He will find a way to score. And then the bench isn't that exciting. I might have to reconsider my bench order just in case there are any issues in the starting 11. So far, so good. Doesn't seem like there's going to be too much going on. Then captaincy. Now, this is where it gets frustrating. Look at my team. It's all right, but you could easily mistake it for about 1,000 other teams on Twitter. There's no fun and pizzazz, really. The players I'm probably most excited about are Semenyo and Dibbling and Milenkovic, but 2 of those are on my bench, and then Semenyo's only for a short term. But there's no one really there. Maybe Chris Wood, but I'm not feeling, woo, I can't wait for that player to score. And captaincy is going on Haaland. It has to. I'm going to stick with him. He leads the way for shots in the box this season with 29, which is at least 10 more than any other player. And despite the blank from the game week that I brought him in, he has scored 10 goals already, and it's only game week 7. And I just see him building on that, seeing as it's a home fixture, they're against Fulham. But it feels very boring. Now, for instance, if I'd have had Palmer last game week when he scored 4 goals, I would have been flying. Rank-wise, would have been flying, but physically, I'd be through a window. I would have been so excited. Whereas if Haaland had scored 4 goals, I'd be pleased, I'd be relieved. But would I be that excited? Probably not. So I think looking forward, I need to bring in some pizzazz to this team. And I've spoken quite a lot on this channel about the need for having fun picks. I've probably gone a bit too safe because last game week, obviously I'm not going to enjoy it quite as much because the wildcard was such a disaster. But I just didn't really have anyone there captivating me, you know? So there are 3 players that I am keen to bring in at some point, but we're going to be rolling transfers for a while. So this is just on the periphery, on the radar. First up, spoke about him in my last video, Brennan Johnson. He got 1 goal and 1 assist this game week. I was really happy for him. It was lovely to see. But part of me thought I could have been ahead of the game on this one. Turns out I wasn't. I think I brought him into my team game week 1. So if you go back, I was ahead of the game. But again, patience wasn't there. Did I bring him in? Let me just check that. Okay, I've checked. That was a big fat lie. I think he was just in a lot of my drafts. I didn't bring him in. So I'm quite a pat on the back that I wasn't impatient with him. I was thinking it was strange considering I've stuck with Rodgers all this time. Anyway, Brennan Johnson, want to bring him in. He's had the 3rd most shots in the box out of all fantasy players with 18 in total. And Spurs are going on to a really nice run of fixtures. Again, apart from Porro, I haven't got any Spurs attackers, so it'll be a nice, cheaper way into that attack. Then my second option is Trossard. Now, my hesitancy with him is the fact that it would probably involve downgrading Saka. If I was going to go for a second Arsenal attacker, I think it would be Havertz. I think the two would complement each other quite well. Whereas I don't think I would do Saka and Trossard because that's taking up 2 valuable midfield spots. I didn't go for Trossard at the start of the season because I was quite concerned about his minutes, but he started the past 4 games. He's also bounced back from a really poor performance in game week 5 when he was sent off with a red card. But this week he got 1 goal and 1 assist. There is such an abundance of goal scorers in the squad, which I did touch on earlier. So maybe it's best to play it safe with Saka. He's guaranteed to start, plus he's on penalties. But Trossard is another one that if he was to score, I'd be far more excited than if Saka was to score. But then we need to think about points. And then finally, Strand Larsen, another player that I spoke about in my previous video. I'm going to keep an eye on the Wolves assets, but Strand Larsen is the one that I am most keen on. He's 5.5 million and he's had 1 goal and 1 assist so far. Wolves have had such a tough run of fixtures, so I think looking at Strand Larsen's performance so far this season, it's not really very fair. They've come up against Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool. It hasn't been an easy start for them. But from game week 9, they have a really nice run of fixtures and they come up against Brighton, Palace, Southampton, Fulham. It's just a much easier run. I don't want to rush into bringing Strand Larsen, so I think I'm going to see how he gets on this week against Brentford. At only 5.5 million, he is an easy downgrade from Chris Wood, who is the one that will be most likely to go because I don't see myself transferring out Watkins or Haaland. I'm in no rush to take out Chris Wood, and especially as Forest come up against Leicester and West Ham, but he's definitely on my radar. So they're the 3 that I'm considering. In terms of the team itself, I'm pretty happy with it. I'm not jumping to tear up the team to bring in Cole Palmer. I need to own the fact that I transferred him out, and it's very, very annoying. But I felt like there were other players that obviously had priority. Unfortunately, can't see into the future. Didn't see him scoring 4 goals. 4 goals. But I am happy. I think my only maybe question mark at the moment is Porro. I'm a bit concerned about his goal threat this season. He has had 11 shots, but only 2 have been in the box, and he's on less set pieces compared to last year. At 5.5 million, I could downgrade him in a few game weeks' time and upgrade elsewhere in my team. But again, we're going to remain patient. He's the closest thing that I've got to a Spurs attacker, and he is the most attacking out of the Spurs defenders. So I'm going to keep him there for now. He was also a kind of last-minute transfer. I ended up upgrading Robinson to Porro. That was thanks to Sim on Streamception who advised that, so I could keep hold of Milenkovic. But otherwise, I think the team's okay. It's inoffensive, but I probably want a bit more spice, a bit more offence, something to criticise. There is probably things to criticise in this. I do appreciate that. There's no Salah. I don't know. How are you guys finding it this year? Because I am enjoying the game and I do find it really fun. But I think where I've had a poor start to the season, I'm now trying to play it a bit safer than I normally would. But I also took a lot of hits this season. So no more hits, roll some transfers. And then ideally by game week 12 to 15, I just plucked that out of the air. At some point, when I've got a bit of a safer rank, then I'll be able to bring in my fun picks. But that's the team. This was quite a rambly video, apologies. But thank you so much for watching, especially if you made it this far. Do subscribe if you are new here. And let me know who you're captaining this week, because I can probably be swayed not to captain Haaland. Although I don't really know who else I'd captain. But that's one for me to think about. Thank you for watching. Bye, guys.